Hi, my name is Dwayne Clayton. I am the youngest son of Dwayne Kane, who is the seventh child of Hattie Fulton. I also have a brother that's deceased, as well as my. Can I? Hello, my name is Dwayne Clayton. I'm the youngest son of the late Dwayne Kane. I also have a older brother, Carl Velez, who is also deceased. My father was the seventh child of Hattie's, and we're here to just celebrate her 100th birthday. I'm here to just say I thank God for keeping her and sustaining her for these 100 years. It's a true blessing to be able to say that you have a grandparent or a great grandparent that's still alive at that age and who is still in their right mind, able to do for themselves, is just a blessing. And on today, we celebrate you, we love you, and we thank God for you. As we're sitting here, I just sit back and I think about when we were younger, just the things how grandmother's house was always the gathering spot. And we would come here on the weekends, spend a night. She always cooked, made sure we were well fed, but we would work as well. We did a lot of work. We painted bricks, we painted fence, we picked up trash. But one of my most memorable moments, when I started driving, I used to be her chauffeur. And one time I took her to Evanston, Illinois to see a client. And in the process of waiting, my cousin Maxwell and I decided to go and visit somebody else. And in turn, we made her have to catch the L home. And I just knew that when we got back, we would no longer be alive. But surprisingly, she didn't say one word. I was really surprised. But that is like one of my fondest memories. I always tell everybody about that. And another thing, I don't know why we call her grandmother. But even when I mention that to my friends, they always say, "What do y'all think, y'all rich or something?" That's just a joke that people say because we use the word grandmother instead of grandma. But that's just who she is, grandmother.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Kane. I'm the 14th child of Hattie Kane Fulton. I have four children, Eddie, Jamara, Shariah, and Jerry. My fondable memory is my mother when she used to have my brother Phil to catch me and bring us to under bed, and she whip us with the switch. And I'm glad that she's here to see, the Lord let her see her 100-year birthday next year. And that's a blessing for somebody her age to live to see that long. And she get around, do everything for herself with no help. And that's a blessing too. That's basically it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia, and I'm the 11th child of Hattie. And I just wanted to say I'm grateful and thankful to have my mother around after 100 years of giving praises to God on this earth. And my fondest memory is when we used to go riding up and down Westford Avenue in her Cadillac, and we would point out, "This my car, that's my car." And then when we first moved here in April of 1971, the way she reassured me that everything was going to be okay with us living here, because I didn't want to leave my old school and my old friends. But I'm just grateful again to have her around this long.
Hi, my name is Anthony Kane. I'm the son of Hattie Kane, and my grandmother's Hattie Kane. I'm the oldest grandson, Hattie Kane. Um, I'm glad she made it to 100. My fond memories of her is with my cousins. Every time we go driving, she always tell us when we go past 63rd and State is where the big fire, the big train wreck was. To this day, every time I go past there, I think about what she always tell us about. It used to always be a big train thing. Remember the big car accident there years ago? I'm glad my grandmother, I'm here to see her make 100, and I love her. That's it.
full name. What's
Huh?
your full name?
Hattie Kane, Fulton.
And can you tell us who your parents are?
Out of man, Bob Kane.
Can you tell us what year you were born?
I was born February 6, 1922. What?
And where were you born?
I was born in West somewhere. West. Mississippi, it says in West.
So tell me about your life. How many children you have?
I have 13 kids. No. Some of that stuff I don't.
So what do you like doing?
Well, I like going out seeing different things.
Name some of them. What do you do when you go out? What's your day like?
Well, I go where they have they have dancing, and they have them doing different games and all kinds of things like that. Where I be going.
What would you share with us your secret of getting to be 99, going on 100 years old? Mm-hmm.
Well, I try to be nice and act nice to everybody. And I'm really not treat everybody nice. I don't mistreat nobody. I treat everybody nice, you know.
You say you like dancing, so do you go dancing often?
I used to go dancing often. I don't go no more. I don't go dancing no more.
Do you remember when you moved in this house where you're living now?
I remember when I moved in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's been about some years ago. Quite a few years since I moved in this house. Been maybe 20 or 30 something years. Right?
What's your favorite thing to cook?
I ain't got no certain thing to cook. I cook. I want you to cook, you know, because one day I like one thing before you cook, and the next day I like something else. But I enjoyed being here with such as that.
Okay.
Okay. I got such a cold.
Well, hi, my name is Maxwell Frimpong. I don't know what number grandchild I am. I don't know. As we spoke earlier, I was the grandchild that was with my other cousin when we left her in Evanston. And I remember we sat out there for about, at least 3 or 4 hours waiting on her to come out of the store. And she never came out. Then by the time we drove home, she was sitting there waiting on us. I don't really remember what the outcome was, but I know it was something. But I know some of my fondest memories was back when just learning to become a young adult. And I remember one was that I watched everybody growing up, how they would like drive her around, like from my other cousins. So they would drive her, they would want to be cool, right? So if you did that, then you didn't get a second chance. You wouldn't be able to get the car. So when it was my turn, I always would drive like 10 and 2, like a Miss Daisy. And then before long, she would let me drop off at work and keep the car for the weekend. And I always told people, like, you gotta understand life. You gotta be smart enough to watch what's going on around you and not repeat the same mistakes. And you always wanted to respect your elders because she was in control. So from learning that, I had my cousin that was probably 10 years older than me. He would have to ride with me to drop off, but he couldn't keep the car, but I could. Just from me following the directions that she set forth. And then as it turned over to an adult, I always wanted that she have the best life that she could possibly have, even at an older age. So, I would just stick with her fathers. If I went by and she may have said like, hey, I ain't seen y'all in a while, I would call up everybody, let's meet up over grandmother's house and kind of fellowship and We even made a family room downstairs where we would enjoy one another. So overall, just learning from her, I learned the importance of just having family and support, because that kept us together and that kept us to as a group. Because I seen as it coming up that how the importance of just being around your family, because family is all that you really have. So that was just a part of some of the memories I would want to share. I don't know if Mahari want to say something, but she was kind of, come here, Mahari. Come here, Mahari. This is my daughter, Mahari. The other one don't feel well. So, but I guess we should also speak on that this video is after her passing. So it's kind of fresh. We really don't it's not that we even, that part has had hit us. It's just like day to day. Because sometimes when I drive by, I still think, oh, I could go in and see my grandmother. But actually, we can't. But I mean, we're not sorry about it. She lived 99 good years. We did whatever we can. I did think about on Christmas, I would have sent her a plate or something like that. But for the most part, everything else is all right. And that's the end for me.
Unmute yourself, Glenda.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Uh.
All right, you don't think Mahari want to say something or just say her name?
Say something. You don't want to tell them how
I said, do she want to say something about grandmother?
You want to say something about grandmother? What about when you went to school when you didn't feel good? You said you missed grandmother when you was at school.
Yes.
You want to share it with us?
You don't want to share it with us on video?
No.
And Maxwell, remember, those memory lives in your heart, so she will always live on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's not an end, and it's always a beginning of another level of our consciousness of love and, you know, being able to strive and survive.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful as well.
Yeah, I think we
Thank you all.
Are grateful as a family. We had so many memories. We had bumps in the road, but we overcame them.
Yeah, it's called growth. Growth
go.
and development that goes along with it. It makes you stronger, it makes you weaker, it makes you fight for flight.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank you all for coming to do your presentation, and we're gonna add on to them probably as we go. So as she get older, we want to come back and do those things and let our children talk when they're, you know, ready to do that.
Right.
So, all right then, Peep, anything else you need?
Nope. All right. Thanks a lot. You want to say
All
something?
right. Thank you all both. Appreciate
right.
it. All right. Love you all. Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Key.
You're welcome.
Okay, my name is Cynthia. I am the 11th child of Hattie, Kane, Fulton. And my fondest memory of her is when we first moved to 5426. I was in the 6th grade, and she had a hard time convincing me that everything was going to be okay on our new move, because I didn't want to leave my friends and I didn't want to leave my old school. But somehow or another, she was able to convince me that everything was going to be all right in our new home. So after about the summer passed and I was able to start a new school, I was able to settle in and everything turned out just like she said it would be. Then I also remember we used to get in her car and she would take us down Western Avenue, but we would point at the cars and say, "This is my car, that's my car." And I just remember having a good time with her. And now that she has made the transition, I'm going to really miss her.
Hi, I'm Glenda Fulton, and I am the fifth oldest child of Hattie Kane Fulton, and we came today to give memories of love and affection in our living and life with Hattie for 99 years. I am my age-wise in being her fifth oldest child. That's my brother Willie B, my sister Jean, which her name is Essie, my sister Faye, my sister Shirley, and as I said, Glenda, I'm the fifth oldest. Then there's my brother Larry, who is Shabazz, my brother Dwayne, who has passed on as well, my sister and brother, which are twins, Joanne and Joetti, my brother Phil, and my brother, not my brother, my sister Cynthia, my sister Phyllis, which is the baby girl, and my brother Derek is the baby boy. We also had a sister Renee, who passed on early on when I was about maybe 7 years old. So my life with Hattie began in 1950. As I said, I'm the fifth oldest child and the fourth girl, and I'm in between two sets of children. I have one brother older than me and three sisters, and then I have 5 brothers younger than me and 5 sisters. So being the fifth oldest child was a pleasure for me, wise as having younger siblings and older siblings, because I was able to do stuff on 2 different levels. My older sisters then would learn how to smoke early on, and I was younger, and they would teach us how to smoke because my father eventually allowed them to smoke. So we wouldn't tell my mother, but she knew. So she'd get on us about being down there smoking. She never smoked. She did like her beer though, but she was never a drinker or a smoker. And my fondest remembering coming up in the 50s was I was able to relate to various ways and styles of life. I went to school in Mississippi when I think I was about 5 years old in Jackson because my grandmother lived there. Then I remember sometime in the 50s us moving out to Hopkins Parks is what it was called, which is part of Kankakee, which is known as Kimbrook in Illinois. And we were on a farm there. We had, we did horseback riding. They had pigs, they had hogs, they had chickens, they had ducks, and a big black pot out in the yard that they would put fire under every morning to heat the water. Yes, we experienced having an outhouse and inside and what they call a slop jar. So I'm grateful for these memories and my mother bringing us up in the various areas that we came up in. We had the big cookie you could buy for 2 cents, and we went to a 1-room schoolhouse. And as I said, we had different things then, fresh stuff out the garden, apple trees, you could eat fresh greens or whatever you wanted, or the fresh meat. Learn how to churn milk and get the butter and the clabber off of it. And all of these things helped shape me for life. So it made us be more giving and loving because we didn't live where the community was really, really big when we lived in Kankakee, but they did have the general store and the post office that I can remember. Bob Hall, them who owned the lounge and the taverns and stuff, and the car places, the different ones that knew our family. And all of that, it brought educational awareness to me about various things. And especially when you started to come into the city and be educated, when we were in the 1-room schoolhouse, we had every subject for every age that was there. But then when you came into the city of Chicago, and we lived up on, and actually I was born up on Hudson Street, which was considered the north side. So I have lived on the west side and the south side, besides living out in Kankakee. And I enjoyed being in what's known as Woodlawn as well as being on the west side, and went to Madison High School, came over here, and we lived on the south side at 2400 on South Indiana. I remember Brink being there, and they would throw us down candy going to Doniac School on 24th and King Drive. And I also remember when we moved from there and went to 43rd and Berkeley, That was my really fondest memory. My mother did, she would take a couple of us at a time in the car and say she was going to Marshall Field. And we better not be telling nobody, you know. But we didn't know back then that Marshall Field was the Catholic Sad, the Goodwill, and whoever. She get that stuff and come home, wash it good, press it and iron in the starch, and you look like you did, just came out of Marshall Field. And she never been one to whoop on us or scold us hardly. She was always real soft to me and gentle to talk to us. But if you did something and she had to tell you too many times and she told you she was getting that strap for you, she got that strap. And my grandfather didn't help anything because he had razor straps. That's what they say they used to sharpen the razors on. You get a licking with that, you had a licking. But I don't remember any harsh whoopings or things from her. It was mostly that she tried to encourage you by or with her words. And I'm so thankful for that because it was a great gentle touch for me. I think I was real sensitive anyway, being between those two sets of children. And it made me to be stronger in doing that because you don't ever want to take for granted when your parents are showing you as much as they can show you or tell you. You want to be able to consume that and hopefully use it to be informed with. Because a lot of time we say, well, you know, my mother didn't talk about some things that I thought I'd like to see so we could pass it on to my children and my children's children. But guess what? She really didn't know it. She didn't really know her grandmother and peoples on her father or her mother's side. So, and that's okay. But now that we do know it, will we pass it on? Will we pass it down? Will we help our children? I'm 5 generations. So I have my children and my children has children. And I have a grandson that has a child. So that makes me 5 generations. So I'm grateful that my mother at 99 was able to see 5 generations of children from her children. So in all that being said, I'm grateful for all the opportunities and the learning of different things. When we lived in 61st and Kimbar, well, don't jump so fast. Back to 43rd in Berkeley, I went to Forestville High School. I remember one time my mother told my sister Faye, I don't want you out there fighting. So lo and behold, a boy said something to one of my siblings, and my sister Faye took her belt off and whooped that boy all the way home. And my mother had to go up to the school for her. So it's good to be a close-knit family, and it's good to pay attention because you don't want to get into those things your mother told you not to get into. I also remember us going to Riverview with her and what her command was for us to be able to go and the various other places she took us. Or we would go out to Wolf Lake and have a picnic with Oscar and his family then. And I really enjoyed a lot of those things. It's nothing like cultivating and educating us and informing us. I remember the chicken, the shoebox with the chicken and cake when we used to would get on the train and go visit. That was either Mississippi or even when we went to California to visit my grandmother, because my grandparents lived in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, but they moved from there to California. So the loving memories, they flow wide and far because it's so much. But the greater thing that I like to say is you never seen my mother ever without her hair out of tack, without her clothes neatly coordinated from head to toe. And even as of 3 months before her transition, I had Sharon with me at my mother's house at 5426. And she was showing Sharon how she do her exercise and how she danced. So when we get over there weekly or monthly or a couple of times a month, that's what she would do. She danced and we danced with her and keep her vibrant and doing things she liked to do. The television, she liked her music, especially a lot of the blues. And I remember one time we had a neighbor who liked Jane Brown, and my mother went to take the record off to change it. She was gonna put on another Jane Brown and Miss what was her name? That child's mother's name. Anyway, I can't bring her name up this minute, but she bit mother on the hand right quick, you know, because she was messing with her record. And so just to say, she have always took in people and always encouraged them, always giving some clothes away or going and packing a bag to give to somebody. Out of her having those 13 children, it was always somebody else in our house. So if you had to step over folks because they had a pallet on the floor, okay. Because Hattie was going to help and fit in wherever she could. And she was not going to see anybody lacking something and she couldn't help them. But she going to tell you something, though. She going to read you your rights to keep you where you need to be at. And then I remember one time we were sitting outside with the salt in the window and the apple tree. And I was the smallest, so they put me up in the apple tree. She had told me don't let them put me up there because she was going to whoop me. And I let them put me up there and I got caught in the tree by my underpants. So you know I got whooped, right? But she didn't whoop me. She whooped them for putting me up there. So I was grateful for, so I didn't go back up that tree no more. Then when we moved, before we moved off of 43rd Street, we used to go to the cleaners and to the dry cleaners. So I think one day one of my siblings had got some pop bottles and he went to the store to get the money off the pop bottle. And she was looking for us and we wasn't in the laundromat. Even though we had a washing machine ourselves, but big thing, she was in there. So to say how many times she got her strap really out in my lifetime, I probably could count them on one hand. But I didn't like that rub board, I tell you that. I used to tell my brothers, the younger ones, I was going to maul their head if they walked on the floor in them socks and make them wash it themselves. He would make this slide soap. You had to go in there on that rub board and get the washing on that stuff. Or I make them come in there when she wasn't there and I make them get in the tub and stomp on them with their feet. So I told them they bet not tell, but just having fun with being children. And I remember one time, you know, you could say, we went in the refrigerator, it was nothing to eat, but I never seen a time that we didn't have something to eat. Even if it was a big biscuit made by her and she had some homemade syrup, you still had something to eat. Maybe some bacon, maybe been some salt pork, who knows? But she went in that refrigerator, she did make a meal. And Hattie could cook. She was known for her cooking. And she kept that hair laid to the side. She was also known for doing hair. So just to say some fun memories and be able to pass them down to our children is a wonderful thing to me because it's never too many memories. I always say it's enough memories and they forever grow and expand. And so in the latter years, as she grew into her greatness, we moved from 43rd Street to 61st and Kimbard in Woodlawn. And we lived up on the second floor. And I remember her telling us one time she felt like she thought Oscar had came in, our stepfather had came in, and he had sit on the bed. But somebody had told us that somebody had died in the building when we moved in there, right? And they had their funeral there, but we didn't believe it. She said she felt one time somebody come sit on the bed. So I would sit up at night to see if I seen anybody come sitting on my bed. It never happened, but it was just that she said that to us about, she felt like he had came in and had sit on the bed. So I thought, shoot, I better stay woke and look and see what she's talking about. But we went to school and branched off into whatever the careers we had and were in from 6139 on Kimbard into adulthood and moving to 5426 Princeton, the house. And the house is 50 years old because she moved there that year in 1971 of March. And I remember it distinctly because I had the first child in that house, and that was my youngest daughter, Shatanya. Everybody called Shay. So she was the first baby born in that house at 5426 Princeton. So it's a very address that we will never forget, and that we had so much fun there. And like I said, you know, we even had the floor where even the basement wasn't a lot enough. Sometimes we gave something, and she already had 13 children, and our children, and our children's children, and our children's children. And so, like I said, now to date, we're 5 generations in. And so you can imagine that house is really too small, but it's still enjoyable. Some of us still get there. Sometimes we're not all there with our children and grandchildren. So it works out fine. But when we are, it's a party time, enjoying Hattie. Let her show and talk and tell us whatever and different things that she did share with you. And always had something to eat. As my nephew Anthony would say, he's the oldest grandchild of my sister Faith. That's her son. He was the first grandchild when we lived on 43rd Street. And my niece LaDonna was the second child to my oldest sister Essie when we lived on 43rd Street. And I remember my mother was going out of town one time. And so she told us, Jean was not a fighter. That's what we call my oldest sister Essie. Say, if Faye mess with Jean, y'all better help Jean jump on Faye. We weren't doing any of it. But Faye acted right, and we didn't have to do that. But when we moved over to Princeton, all of us had the opportunity to either come in out of that door at some interval or live there, stay there, and things of that nature. So that's why I said it's going to be a house that will be missed if we don't keep it in the family. That location is very dear to us because we did so many things there. Mother had a garden, and she would come on the street sometime and just see somebody and they were in need. Hey, come here, let me give you a bag. All the neighbors just loved her and talked about her, and the community would just come and just bless her with so many different things just because of the love she would share out in the community itself. I remember we used to have Miss Dukes used to be there with Furman House, and they would call upon Mother to do different things and be a part of Furman House. They gave boxes, gave food, and she always had so much, she would call other people and give it to them. Or if she had to go take them to her, she would go make sure she took the food or the clothes or whatever it was to them. So, you know, it's a special person who always giving and love to give. That's a very special person. I mean, we all give, but do we give really from the true heart that we have within us? Do we give it with love, wisdom, and understanding for understanding? And I thought she did all of those and some more. So she is in my heart, so I won't say she will be missed. I can talk to her and love with her every day just by emanating the love that I have through my heart flame. So I'm grateful to be able to have had Hattie as my mother and my father as well, who passed on early on before her in my life. It do make a difference. I think we were brought up with good character, and I'm grateful to be able to share it myself with others. So in all that being said, I'm truly grateful for all of my sisters and brothers who participate in this and sharing Hattie's memories, my children, my nieces and nephews, my great nieces and nephew, and my great. I'm truly grateful for us being able to have something to live on within ourselves about her that will keep us strong, keep us together, and keep us still building on her legacy. So thank you all. I'm grateful to be able to have these memories of Hattie. Life reflection of Hattie Lee Kane Fulton, our mother for 99 years. Hattie Lee Kane was her name given at birth. And she was born to the late Alfred Kane and Ida Mae Marshall on February 6, 1922 in West Mississippi. Of course, she did and was able to come up in the Jim Crow days with segregation and Greater Depression, but they survived. Mother went to Phillips High School and graduated from there, but she also attended DuSable at some interval. And of course, you know, in Chicago, a lot of our great folks came from there, like Timmy Black and Nat King Cole, and Mother as well. She worked as a nursing assistant and went on later years to do some type of program as an LPN, which was called waivers back in the day. Never a time you could see Mother without her uniforms not being crisp white with creases in them to the max. Believe me, white as white could be, that hair laying, and I mean, she come in sharp as a tack and leave sharp as a tack in whatever she did in nursing. And A lot of her family began to call her Flossie. We never knew why, but it was an affection name that the cousins from the north side and west side would call her when they would come to visit. And we always thought, well, who is Flossie? But they was affectionately calling her Flossie because of her style and her confidence she had in being a genuine, loving person. So that was good to know why they eventually called her that. So her being born to Ida Mae Marshall Ellis, rather, and Marshall became Ida Mae's name later. She was her only child, and my grandfather's only child for many, many years. Later years, my grandfather did have another daughter, so she do have a sister that my grandfather had later years. And just letting our children know the histories, so that they can go back and look up who Ida Mae Ellis was, which was my mother's mother, and who Alfred Kane was, who was my mother's father. They both was born in the South. So I'm grateful to be able to know that and share that experience because the legacy encouraged a lot of things through our parents and our grandparents. And so we need that to be known. My grandfather was a businessman, but so was my grandmother. She ran a lounge, a tavern, a restaurant in Mississippi, and my grandfather worked for Apex Smelting Company here in Chicago. Excuse me. He was always on us about knowing math and what a slide ruler was and how to read it. And you appreciate those things from your parents and your grandparents and them teaching and having you to understand that. And my mother was a matriarch of the family. And she, like I say, she had the 14 children. So we're just grateful to be able to know that our grandparents and that they existed, at least in my life, and my children's son, because I took my children down south to visit with my grandparents, then to walk the dark roads and to know what it was like down there, to be able to have that history under their belt. So we're grateful for the parents of my mother, and we're grateful for my mother.
So my name is Rashida Bird. Hattie Kane is my grandmother. Her daughter, I think number 3, is Fayetta Kane. That's my mom. And I am my mother's second child. I also have a son, Jelani Bird, 19. So he is Hattie Kane's great grandson. And so one of my earliest memories with my grandmother is as a child, my first cousins, and we kind of all grew up like brothers and sisters because we were around each other pretty much every day or every weekend. And we would spend the night in my grandmother's house, 5426 Princeton. Everyone knows that house, yellow and white. And even though she loved making sure that we were fed well and clothed, because even sometimes when you would come to her house, you didn't necessarily have an overnight bag, but she always had clothes for you to sleep in as well as to change the next day. So in addition to ensuring we had clean clothes, you can even find a toothbrush. She fed us very well. But in return, one of the things she always made sure is we got up bright and early with the birds at 6 a.m. or even sunrise, whatever time that was, to do chores. So what I relate that to or equate that to is, although we had a great time as cousins or sister cousins or brother cousins, because there was quite a few of us, again, that grew up together and was around each other growing up, we also had to make sure we did the chores that grandmother assigned to us, because otherwise we would get in trouble and nobody wanted to be in trouble. So that instilled in me a work ethic. Like, you can have fun, but you also have to adhere to whatever your work tasks are. As long as you did that, you never had any problem. I don't think she ever disciplined me because I never was trying to be in trouble, but I made sure I did what I was supposed to. So those are some of my earliest memories, her cooking, her providing clothing, like I said, food and shelter, but also making sure we did our chores when we were supposed to do them. So, and that carried me throughout my whole life. And one other thing that I'll never forget of my grandmother, as we know, she almost made it to 100 years old, but Um, I believe this was in the 80s. And again, my grandmother, to me, the matriarch of the family, just could do no wrong. She shared with me her class ring. I think at the time I was in elementary school, and I was like, oh wow, grandmother has a class ring. And what that signified to me is that my grandmother, remember at that time, it wasn't necessarily promoted education, but she graduated from high school. So I was highly impressed, like, man, in my head, that meant I must minimally go to school, go to high school and college. If my grandmother did it, and probably this is probably, I don't know what year, maybe the 30s, 40s was the year that she did this. I could do it in the 90s. That was like what registered in my head at the time. So again, education, good work ethic, and always a warm place. That's what I think of when I think of my grandmother.
So, I just want to say that my grandmother really instilled a lot of good things in us and was really there for us. And we had a great time at her home.
My grandmother Hattie, she was always a very sweet and kind person. Um, when I was in her house, it always felt like home. And looking back on it, the house was a pretty small, but when I was a kid, it always felt super big, and I could always go to different places down there, and it so many people there. It just felt more at home, and it felt like a bigger place. I always remember when I was little, if I was to do something, she would always come and tell me that you gonna learn one day the hard way or my way, and it was always funny to look back on because she would let me do stuff and let me get hurt, and they see like, see, now you're not gonna do it again, and it was just always a funny memory to remember.
And so can you name your relatives that are with your mom, your siblings, your mom, your dad, and those that are your grandmother? So she's your grandmother, your great grandmother. But then say it all in one sentence. Say it all in one sentence without me talking. So go right ahead now.
She's my great grandmother. Is that it?
No. So do you have siblings? Your mother, your grandmother. So when I'm not talking, it's for a reason. I don't want to have me on your recording. So when I stop talking, yeah.
Your relation to the family is what he's
right.
asking.
Tell who your mother. Tell who your mother is, as well as your grandmother.
Oh, okay. So my mother is Rashida Bird, and her mother, my grandmother, is Fayetta Kane, and her mother is Hattie Kane.
My name is Uche Bird. I am the son of Fayetta Kane. Hattie Fulton, Hattie Kane is my grandmother. I have siblings, Rashida, Rukia, and Anthony. And I have a son, as you can see, Mizena. Right now, he's kind of busy, but wanted to say a little bit about my grandmother, who was an awesome woman and really made sure that the family was held together and taught me a lot of lessons. She actually taught me how to cut my pancakes. She also taught me how to work hard too and make sure that the yard was clean and contributing and to make sure the whole family down. Grandma Hattie was an awesome lady. She taught me about gardening. We had to do the garden there, but that also taught me how to do garden in DC. So I really contribute a lot of my lessons about hard work to my grandmother. She was a great woman, and was one of the things that stood out the most is as you would bring friends around, they're like, "Man, your grandmother's so pretty," or they say, "Your grandmother had blonde hair." I thought that's how it always was grown, and I didn't even realize my grandmother wore makeup. But it was people, young ladies who would come by and say that I always just know my grandmother to be a real jazzy and fine lady, and she was a real sweet spirit, and she was also a firecracker if you decided to go that route with her. But My grandmother Hattie was a great woman and always pushed. She came to all my graduations, and a really fine woman, and I love her.
My name is Samira Rawls. My mom is Rakia Rawls. My grandmother is Faye Kane, and my great grandmother is Hattie Kane. Hattie, I remember that she always loved to dance and wore her very fancy blue dress.
So my name is Rukia Rawls. My mother is Feta Kane, and Hattie is my great grandmother. My siblings are Anthony Kane, Rashida Bird, and Uche Bird. And when I think back to my grandmother, I just always think about, I think Jelani mentioned it before, that the house was such a small house, but it never felt small and never felt crowded. It just felt like it was at home because we grew up where like all of our cousins, we were there all at the same time, and it just never felt like it was always enough space, always enough food, always enough love to be shared. But when we think of back, like some of the lessons that she taught us, of course, we didn't appreciate at the time, but definitely learned about hard work. If you came over, you know, there was plenty to be done. Okay, so we had fun, we played, we stayed up as late as you wanted to, but once that sun came up, it's time to work. Okay, it didn't matter if you didn't have a change of clothes, didn't matter what, because she stayed having a change of clothes for everybody, all sizes, all ages, both sexes, didn't matter. You were going out there, you're gonna crush cans, you're gonna paint the fence, you're gonna paint the brick, you're gonna do all of that. And I just remember always coming to her house and always feeling welcome, loved, and at home. And I can honestly say, I don't think I've ever seen my grandmother not ready and prepared for the day. Like no matter what time you went there, her hair was done. It's been blonde all my life. And she would have all her jewelry on and her makeup. So she was always ready, always prepared. And she was probably retired the majority of my life. So it wasn't like she was getting up, going to work. So she is when I think about when people saying, you know, fly and all that, that's who my grandmother was.
My name is Feta Kane. I'm the third child. I'm the third oldest, 13. And my mother was Hattie Kane Fulton. There's so many things I can say about my mother in relation to my relationship with her. And one of the things people always said, and they say now, you know, as far as dress, they always remind me of my mother because I'm like her, dressed to the T. She used to put all her stuff, I don't care where she was going, her rings, her milk, her fur coats, everything had to be coordinated. In fact, I had a client one time, and she wrote me a really complimentary letter telling me that she's going to call me Fabulous Fayetta. She said, because I never saw you not coordinated. I don't care what color it was. And those are some things I learned from my mother. She always had it together. Well, the other side of my mother, she was one of those, she was definitely hard work. She got up at 5 o'clock, you was getting up at 5 o'clock. I don't care if you clean the house the next day, she gonna find that hole for you to clean, the dishes. I mean, you know, when you was there, you're gonna be working. And she'll fix something, and then when the sun go down, she'll let you work or rest. But she got up at 5 o'clock, she gonna make sure she can, if you can't get up when she wants you, she'll get the pots and pans and stomp down the hallway where you can really rest yourself. But my mother would have open heart to other people. Even though she had that many number of kids, my sister and brothers always brought somebody else in the house all the time. Look up, they're in the room, and who else over in the other side? And, you know, and their friends always cared to my mother because she always said that. She never made any difference about whoever they brought to the house. Whatever food we had, they also had. If we didn't have no food with God, they didn't have it. But she never made them unwelcome. And even as this time goes on, people will tell you things about my mother, in terms of her making donations here and there. And, you know, as she got late in her age, she was still always calling me, even though she said, you got some clothes I can give, you know, I need this new, and we know she got goo guys and stuff. I said, well, Mama, I'll do it. And my other sister said, don't give her no more because she got too much. But my mother will be really missed. I miss my mother every day. I think about it. And one thing I never knew, no color, my mother had hair, but blonde. She was a blonde from the day I recognized she was my mother, and she was a blonde when she went away. And I'm just want to say much love to my mother.
Okay, well, I'm getting by saying my name is Amensev Shabazz Benaral, and I'm the sixth child of 14 children. I'm the second oldest son, and I have one daughter, whose name is Chiquita, whose mother is Sandra. And it's my fondest memory of my mother, Hattie Kane Fulton. But one of the things I can say that stands out in my mind the most was that my mother, Hattie Kane Fulton, she was a God-conscious person. She always tried to do the right thing and encouraged us to try to do the right thing. Even as a child, you know, she would make sure she would take her to church, you know, and teach different church about the 10 Commandments and how to go to treat people here and right the way we want to be treated. So we often basically go to church here as well as have certain conduct, codes of conduct at home that we had to do because she was very spiritual minded person. Is my fondest memory of her, you know, her basic love for people in general and actually carrying that out in her conduct. That's how she was, and those are things that really that stand out in my mind as a child. That was very notable that I would mention now. Some of the other fondest memory of my mother was like, I remember at an early age, like I said, traveling with her. And when I got a chance to meet my grandmother. And I remember, you know, as a child, it was amazing to me to take a train trip to, I guess we went to South somewhere, but Mississippi, visit my grandmother. Her name was Miss Marshall, Ada Mae Marshall. And as a child, it was really amazing to me just riding the tracks and whatnot. And because it seemed like, you know, the damn, like this train would just jump in the tracks. And as a child, how I'm perceiving it, you know, it's very interesting. But the thing I really liked about it was just my mom and I, Hattie Fulton. And, you know, it's like she had the different sandwiches on the train. And it looked like she must have had 1 million of them. And they seemed to taste so good. And I was like, damn, I didn't think she was going to ever run out of them. But she would ever run, she would ever run out. But that was cool. Like I said, then as finally reached the South, it was there, I think, I stayed with my grandmother a short period of time in Mississippi, which was a very interesting experience. But however, at that early age, especially in the South, I think it would probably been better if I came back north. Living much for my grandmother, and I really wanted to go home because I've always had, like my mother, we've always had like a good rapport and connection where we could always talk, and I always enjoyed talk with her and learning different things from her. You know, so we just had that kind of connection. As far as we began to go older and going to school and whatnot, you know, some of the neighbors, one of my fondest memories was one of the friends of my mother, her name was Florence Joyce, and how she would, as a friend of my mother, she was much, I think much older. She was older than my mother at the time, but I could see she was a very good person a lot of time. Before my mom, she come there, she had got her own apartment and stuff. We would stay with one of her friends who was Miss Florence Joyce. And she was a very good woman. As a fact, as a child, I remember being there and how fond she was of my mother, enough to open up her doors and allow her and, you know, and the children to stay. And it was a place that was very comfortable that I remember. And so there's many fond memories of that experience that was there, because as a child, like I said, I learned that through my mother's friend. You know, they always had big hearts. You know, they was like very religious people also, and practiced a good humanitarian style people. And that you got a very good, at least I got a good feelings from their heart from, and their company, as well as learning a lot from their being in their presence in their company and learning from them. And so the woman, like I said, she stayed, the friend of my mother, like I said, she allowed her to stay there till my mother got an apartment and whatnot. And she always made us welcome there. And she was always just became like she was part of the family. She was just family. You know, we loved her, you know, and loved her because she was like family, even at the point where during her senior year, she got on up and maybe down her life would go see her once they had in the senior home. And a lot of times we'd go and visit her a lot because I always fond memory and let her know we're never gonna forget you because you're a family as well. To me, you know. And so her, as well as other people, friends of my mother, had a friend at the same time at the time that Miss Florence George was staying with. My mother had another friend that was there. Her name was Irma Jean King. I mean, Irma Jean Key, right? And she was another good friend of my mother, you know. So we had always had a lot of good people that was around us, like, you know, God conscious people. And so I guess because of that kind of idea and kind of practice trying to be and do what was right and God conscious person, I guess it just drew a lot of people would come, you know. And so as a child, you know, remember we've always had, you know, with 14 children up, so 13 at the time, but the large family in general, we always had a lot of like people come by. My mother was the person, you know, she was always open and welcome people everywhere. And so a lot of them got the same experience when they was there. They knew they was at home. And they knew they could basically be comfortable. They were relaxed, they was always comfortable. They knew they was always loved and that they was always welcome. So those some other characteristics about my mother to have that kind of talent, and she was able to go to do that. So many people from all around high and low, you know, they was drawn to her about that. And I guess wanted to go find this memory is that even at the dawn of my mother's life, it was a great experience for me because we had a chance to really begin to have like a kind of heart-to-heart talk and discussion with each other, and have some fun with each other doing it, because we've always kept that connection where we was able to talk straight up with one another about various things, you know. And so she would open up, and so certain discussion we would have, because that's just how we talk with each other. And so to walk while in the dawn of her life and whatnot, to be able to be there with her, to go to show, well, here's my, you know, my undying loyalty to her because of the many things that she had done that was good things in my mind, you know. And I love her like that, you know, and I wanted her to always know, look, even in your life here, here's some things I want you to always remember. You've always been there with me, so I'm loyal like that too. So you have my loyalty to you, so I'm gonna stick with you. And it was glad I had a chance to be blessed to stick to her during the walk through her life, at the dawn of her life. Which to me, it's not necessarily the ending, but it was just another part of life that I was in. I was glad to be able to go to walk that walk with her and to share those moments, seconds and hours in those experiences with her. And so those, among other things, it's just many different things I could go explain about the joy and the blessing to have Hattie Fulton, Kane Fulton as my mother. But I didn't take too long to go through that. But those are some of the things, most importantly to me, is that was able to be with her and to walk with her, unto life until she got ready to transition out of it. And at that point, I can go see We Talk. It was at the hospital last time I had basically went to talk with her and let her know, yeah, it's okay. I understand. This is just another part of life. We're gonna go through life, which she used to share with me when I was younger. And as a matter of fact, her and I had a particular kind of discussion where she was telling me one day, she got off work and she was telling me about the facts of life. One of them was that, well, here's at one point here's the thing about life. At one of these times, we're going to have to give up this life. We're going to leave this life. And at the time, I was like, wow, that's kind of heavy, Mom, But she wanted me to know, well, wait a minute, but even if it is, I want you to hear it because these are things, it's going to happen ultimately. And whether could say that kind of prepared me for when that time actually came, perhaps. It was one thing about it that I knew was it made me stronger because it made me strong enough to go to know because she was letting me know. If I'm strong enough to tell you these kind of secret things and give you this information, you're strong enough to basically accept it. Because I'm the one that brings. I said, yeah, well, that makes good sense to me. And after all, you're speaking about yourself, some things here, and the idea of maybe your mom or maybe a family member or your father, somebody, transition out this life. That could be kind of hard, it had touched your heart. And I'm like, wow, but you can't hold on. People not to be helped on to like that. So it taught me that. So I just went in my mind. I said, okay, well. Even though this kind of subject matter, it's not an easy kind of subject matter you want to talk about necessarily, but at the same time, it was one that had to be discussed. And I was very thankful that I was blessed to be able to have that particular discussion with her. She would let this, the ultimate thing, this ultimately gonna happen. I said, okay, Mom, if you can tell me these things about, here's the ultimate thing, something that's gonna occur. If you strong enough to share that with me, then I'm strong enough I can listen. And I was, and I listened well. And I heard her well, and said, hey, that wasn't too bad. And then, I saw, but after that, I could see that brought a joy to her heart because she wanted me to know that. So yeah, even at the time, when the last I got a chance to talk with her mother before she transitioned out this life, I talked with her then and she would let me know, okay, well, this is that time now. It's that season. And like some people get tired because I was like, had the experience at the hospital there. They had a lot of tools and stuff all hooked up to her IV or whatever it was, hooked to her arm. And I say she wanted to be removed. And I knew I would have to go, but I couldn't stay at the hospital with her too long because I knew that's wow. Because if she acted, I can see what she's doing. She's trying to take it out of her arm. She's making it known. I don't want this here. I don't want this experience here. I got to this point here, and I just don't want it. I'm saying, okay, well, yeah, I respect your wishes, and I know if I stay here long enough, and you ask me, I'll take them out your arm for you. I had to let her know because here's our talk because we talk that way, so we're not holding back anything here. It was just like a personal thing that was between her. And so some of the stuff, like I said, we was talking about, I was glad that we had that relationship so we could communicate like that. So that was one of the greatest things, I think, that always stand out in my mind, that we had our own particular way that we could reach and communicate with each other. That was more than anything, to be able to go to talk with, I'd go talk with her about some different things, or she would share certain different things with me, but that was our particular language that we spoke that maybe only she and I probably understood it. And I enjoyed that part. And so that'll always this because I think, and one thing for sure is, I think, a lot of times you got some good things that you want to tell somebody and you get a chance to tell them. I said, well, I think you should do that, during their live life if you can, as opposed to wait, when the person deceased and so on. And the people, they may have broke how I could have did this or that way, or should have said that, or should have took time to do those things there. I was glad that, okay, when those times came, I was able to be there and go to talk with them during their live life while she was here. So some of those things here, among many other things I could say about my mother, but that was the greatest part of it, that, hey, look, I was able to go to talk with you. Here's some things we can go to share during your living life. So, once her transition out this life, I'm good now. I can see that she was comfortable as well, because here's we said the things that we wanted to go to say during her living life. And as she transitioned, go up, I said, cool, those things will always be there. We had this conversation. I was so glad that we did. There were some very special and dear moments to me, but it was like I was able to go to walk with her as she get ready to go through the door on into the joint and become an ancestor. I was able to walk with her. And I'm saying I'm so glad of that. So that's the best to me. And many other things, like, and also was a joy to me also when they call mainly how my mother just treat other people. Doing no transit, I see how many people had come out, so many people, how they remember my mom. It was so many of them, I don't even know who all of them, but they was there because they remember, and many of them got a chance to share the same thing. We here to support your mom, because this is how she affected on me. We knew we was always family, we was always welcome, and they stayed that way. For many decades they still came out and said, hey, look, y'all was always family. And so I haven't forgot Miss Kane.
Do you remember when she had that black Cadillac and we got all the fish out the Mississippi River, the Calumet?
Yeah, the Calumet River. Oh yeah. I remember that event kind of vividly. We went over there. In fact, we got so many fish. I think it broke the sharks on the Cadillac. Yeah. Yeah. And let's see, you got a host of other ones here. I don't know. Like I do remember, like one time as a child, I know a lot of time. My mother, she was very good driver and stuff there. So she was always active and be gone, and traveling, moving around. And I would always basically, I'm going with my mother here. I would hide in the back of the seat of the car, and I wait till I think she got farther away from home. Enough away from home, and I would just go tell her, here I am, surprised. A lot of times she let me go on with her, she never really ever stopped and say, okay, well, Dad, that's okay. I'm going to take you back home and drop you off, but I would wind up going, but to get a chance to hang out with her. And it was fun because she was a lot of fun. I just wish, that, you just had more time, to really be, because she was really good, good fun to be with.
And what would you leave us with?
I think I would leave you with the idea that that at one point, I think people waste too many times a lot of things that they may want to tell somebody, they love one, their mother, their fathers, or whoever. Because time's so short, you never know, when they're going to be called back out this life. So I would tell them, look here, love them as much as you can and try to enjoy their company while you can. That way you don't have that burden and that pain in your heart while instead of going back, well, I wish I could have, would have, should have. You won't have to do that. And I would encourage them, do that. But if you got something to say now, say it now, and if you, just say whatever it is, however you feel about it. And then you could do that in a loving manner. Because even though some people, they may be cold and whatnot, I said, well, it makes a difference because some people, that kind of love and that comfort they get from others. I said, well, it helps and you'll see a transformation. And so if you open up your heart and be able to go to talk to people here, your loved ones, and whoever, your friends, whoever it is, if you just do it now, I'm saying you're probably going to feel so much better. Because at least I got a chance to go to say what I want to know.
Well, I'm grateful that you all came and shared those moments of Mother. All the individuals who did, I'm most appreciative because mother is a special word, believe me. And to have a mother and be able to can talk and share information about it, because she wasn't just our mother, she was a universal community neighborhood mother. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful and thank you all for coming and I appreciate it, and I'll get back with you later, okay?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's well.
All
I'm
right.
so interested about share that information with. Okay. Then.
Appreciate it.
Okay then.
All right. Thanks here.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
talk to you all soon. Peace and love.
Okay. Peace, brother. All right.
Peace.
Okay, good afternoon, world. I am Leonard Kane. I'm Shirley's son, Hattie's grandson. And today we're just sitting here talking about, my wonderful grandmother. This is my daughter, Valencia Kane, who's actually Hattie's great-great-granddaughter. If I could think of anything that I would say, she would always bring laughter to the family. But I'm always stuck on this thing about my grandmother having us paint bricks with interior house paint. She would have us paint these bricks almost every other week, and the rain would come and the rain would wash these bricks off. But everything had to be yellow and white, yellow and white, yellow and white. I really just don't understand. And even there's a tree that sits in front of our house on 5426 South Princeton that's still yellow and white. And when we planted the tree, it was a little shrub. Now it's a big, tall, maybe 30-foot tree, and it's still yellow and white. But my grandmother always had a heart for other people and to see them happy and things of that nature. And one thing that we can always say is, if you do it right the first time, you'll have to do it again.
Okay, I'm Shirley. I'm the fourth oldest. I have one son. His name is Leonard. I have two grandchildren, Valencia and La Janice. I have two great-grand, like Brooke and Bo. And I thought about, Mama would always tell me about when we was younger, we wore high top Buster Brown shoes. And she would take us and put our shoes on, and I would always take my shoes off, so she would double knot my shoes. So one day she couldn't find me, so she looked for me over behind the couch. She found me over there. She would always take a pin to loosen the knot. So I had a pin trying to unloose the knot. When she called me, I took the pin and stuck it in my nose. And what else? Another time we was living on Kimbar. She had this, must have been about a 61 or 62 Cadillac, but it had fishtail fin lights on it. They was draining the Calumet River, so you can go there and pick up all the fish you wanted. So Mama went there. When she came back home, the car was sitting down on the ground because she was loaded with fish. Everywhere was fish, 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 fish. We had fish for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I just couldn't imagine nobody needing to eat that much fish. But even up to this day, I still like fish.
Hi, my name's La Janice Walker. I'm a great granddaughter of grandmother Hattie Mae, and my father's Leonard Kane, and my grandmother is Shirley Hudson. These are my children, Bo and Brooke. And a memory that I have with my grandmother was when I want to say maybe 3 or 4, probably 4 or 5, I would stay on Princeton with her as my father would go to school or work. And I would be really anxious to touch all of her things on her dresser. And she would always tell me, now go sit down over there and don't touch none of my stuff. And so I would, grandmother, you sleeping? And she'd say, no, I'm not asleep. But she would really be asleep, And so she'd tell me, sit down now and go eat your candy. But the candy was cough drops and peppermints. So as I grew older, I really loved peppermints. And I found out later on down the line, they were refreshments for your breath. They weren't candy. And cough drops, on the back of the cough drop wrapper, if you paid attention, it tell you if you consume too many, you can get sick. So those are my things that I remember about my grandmother. Also, too, she would give me gum, already chewed gum. So whatever would shut me up, she would just be like, now you going over there, chew your gum and eat your candy. So I just had those great memories of her. So as I grew older, I just cherished those memories.
When I was with grandmother one time and my mom and grandma were outside, me and grandmother just sat inside and she had a really old TV and she had me watch SpongeBob on it. And I didn't understand why she would make me sit down and watch SpongeBob.
I like Wendy's because of grandmother, because when my mom was pregnant with me, grandmother would always give her the money to go to Wendy's, and so yeah, I like it.
I got one more memory. It's about the couch. I'm sorry. That couch with the plastic on there.
The white one.
Man, in the summertime, I would be so hot. The couch, the plastic would stick to you. It'd feel like you peed on yourself, but you'd be so hot because you sweat when you sit on there. That's it. We thank you.
I'm Valerie Kane. Okay, and I wrote a little something, like I said, so that I wouldn't like kind of forget something. So if I were to speak about Mrs. Kane, I would say there are three things that stood out with me. It was her youthfulness, especially in her 90s, her independence, and her jazziness. Her youth, for example, I remember on her 98th birthday party, when she walked into that room and walked on that floor, escorted by her family, and she looked like a queen walking in there. And when she got on that dance floor and that music played, she set that cane that she was walked in with on the side of the wall, and she started to dance. And when she started to dance, this is a 98-year-old woman, it was like my mind was saying, how low can you go? And she went low, and she got up real smooth. And I sat there in my chair, and I couldn't even get up and dance. And I'm 60 years old. And that woman just showed everybody out. And then we get to her her independence. Okay, there's a song that I know it's a white people song, but there's a song by Frank Sinatra that's I Did It My Way. And that reminds me of her, because I'm sure anything she did in life, she did it how she wanted to do it. And then there was her jazziness. I have never seen Mrs. Kane with her hair out of place, and she's always had color and sparkle and flair when it came to her attire. And this is all from a woman with almost 100 years of life and stored knowledge that we all have learned from. Okay, there's one thing though that I can't go without saying. I've never thanked her for that 10th child of hers that she brought into this world, Phil, who I've known and admired since 1975 and have been married to for almost 34 years. Just like herself, she raised a son who I recognize that same independence in his personality. He has never been a follower. And like her, he always has his way of doing things. He possesses her youthfulness genes because he never stops going like that Energizer bunny since the day I married him. And just like his mom, he's very outspoken when expressing himself,
on matters which is where we kind of clashed in those years. But that's just how he is, and I'm sure that's just how Miss Kane was. I also heard Mrs. Kane was known for telling her stories. Well, so is her son. You can ask his kids who have heard them over and over again, along with his music. So like Mrs. Kane, her son is a genuinely unique individual, which is a blessing that I have the pleasure of spending my life with and having children with. So that I thank her for that. I don't know her as well as I should have after all these years of being her daughter-in-law, but I do know that she is loved and she will be so missed by this family who thought she had way more years with us to enjoy, but God is enjoying her now until it's our time to come and join her. So I had to write that down so that, old memory. She didn't have an old memory though. That woman remembered everything. And half the time I might not have understood a lot of what she was saying because she talked real fast. But I came to love her and understand kind of who she was and came to understand the family I'm in. And she had 14 kids. My grandmother had 14 kids, 15 with my grandfather's child. And just like Phil is the 10th child, my mother was the 10th child. So we have a lot of things in common also. So, but I liked her gumption. I liked her forwardness and her, I guess with that many kids, you have to, know how to put foot in butt. So, what can I say? So, but like I said, I learned to love her and know her not as much as I probably should have. But like I said, I thank her for this man sitting over here and for the extended family that I have. So, and the beautiful kids that came out of it. And she taught this man how to be a stepfather, which he will tell you he is no stepfather. He's their father. And I love that too. So all of that he got from his mom. So I thank her for that. Want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm number 10 child of our mother. And
hold on a minute, Phil. Hold on just a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
So while we take a break, so for those who have given their presentations already, I'm gonna let you go. We got others coming in. I just want to make sure I make room for them. So thank you all for your comments. And I'm going to make room for others.
Hey, Keith. Phil, make sure you tell that story. Make sure you tell that story about the gas can and the rat in the sewer.
You know I'm gonna leave that out. You know I'm gonna leave that out.
Okay, Keith, I got the messages after the ones that's coming in.
Okay, let me is it okay, there you go. So ask everybody. Just waiting for this app to cooperate. Okay, Phil, you can go right ahead now.
Okay, so I'm Phil once again. I'm the number 10th child. Our mother raised us really well, a lot of fond memories, and she was always known to instill all the great qualities of life that reflects all those memories that we knew growing up with her, and all of us as a family. We kind of complement each other, if you will, from all the things that Keith taught us and that we've learned over the years. Our journey takes me to all those fun times that we all had, and all the things that I did that my mother used to always say that I always try to be the funny one and that I would have my brother laughing all the time, or either other family members, but mostly Joe, because Joe and I used to share the same room. She said, I would tell the jokes, Jordy would laugh all night, you know, and with all that laughter, I think there's still was a whole lot of joy there. And I was the laughter of, as Leonard was describing, I was the laughter of a fire, if you will. Rats used to run around the house all the time and taking out garbage all the time. You're like, why the hell these rats keep turning over the garbage, all, you know, turning up in the garbage can and everything. And I saw them running down to the sewer. So with them running around to the sewer, I had just finished cutting the grass earlier today. And so I decided to pour this gas down into the sewer. So myself and Derek and a few of us were standing outside, had a few beers and everything else. And Derek struck a match, and I said, give me the matches. The match didn't fuel the gasoline like I wanted it to. So I struck the match and I bent down and dropped it in the sewer. The fire from the sewer and the pressure and everything else blew me into the middle of the street, burned my face and everything else. And it just shook the houses on the other side of the street, broke the concrete in front of the house and everything. And it was just one of those fundamental things that it was that as a family, I was very well supported even after I had gotten burned. So those are things that made me appreciate the way that we were raised. So the way we was raised, we always protected each other. My mother had given us that and all the other things she had given us in life. Between that and all the things that we were taught, there was a certain amount of, if you will, courtesy of how we ourselves treated our mother. And I think we treated our mother really well, you know, for her time here. So that brings me to like how it is that we got to today, that it was that everything was really fond memories and all those things that came along with things she had taught us. So I'm gonna go back to like when we grew up on 43rd Street, from what my first recollection was, and that's how we got to here. There was cakes and pies on top of the piano. And cakes, pies, oranges, and just that general scent. And in those little bowls on that Lazy Susie, peppermints and stuff like that. And one of the times listening in on a song that I tell my kids that the greatest song ever made, and if you ever ask them, is How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. Every time I hear this song, it reminds me of all those fond memories of family, of all the things she had created, as memories with those cakes, those pies, those pianos, of course, gifts at Christmas time. You know, those things was wonderful. And, you know, how the song portrayed something. And each time I would hear this song, at times, I'd stop and just stop whatever I was doing, because that song just meant so much more to me than just cakes and pies. It meant that it was really sweet to be loved by her, you know, and you and you and you and everybody else in the family. If you ever get a chance to really listen to that song, listen to it on Marvin Gaye live at the Oakland Coliseum, and how he really expresses in that song, that just carries me to a whole different level. Sometimes, you know, especially now, it makes you like feel so good inside that, you know, you get these chills on your arm, and then almost make you just get this overwhelmness and tears in your eyes. I'm only saying that to say that I really, really want to say, I want to stop and thank you. How sweet it is to be loved by you, because you were better to me than I had been to myself. For me, there's you and there's nobody else. And I like to say that I think our family really got it together there. And I would never trade anything in the world, but still, I want to say how sweet it is to be loved by you.
Thank you very much. It was good to hear that. Good. And I remember that song myself. I gotta go listen to it with Marvin Gaye at the Palladium.
No, at the Oakland Coliseum.
Oakland Coliseum. I'm definitely gonna listen to it later on today, for real.
Yeah, because it's a live version, but it doesn't come. It comes in this medley of songs.
Okay.
But it's just that last one, and especially the way he does it.
Right. Got it.
So Phil, he had about 10 more minutes. He got anything else to say? Because they came in early.
Oh, you have anything else you want to say? No. Well, besides that, everything that I've said so far, stands true to what it is that we've stood for over these years.
And like I said, this man, I heard that your mom has a lot of stories. This man has a lot of stories too.
And but the part of my story, my total legacy, and I don't know how I did all of this before I did. So I'm married to Valerie for 33 years, and our kids are. Our oldest son is George Albert Wilkins VI, Cameron Austin Wilkins, and our third son, Adam Austin Kane, and our dream, our daughter, Majesty Arroyo Kane. And I didn't intentionally leave them out. Just that it is that I was trying to get to our story of the family and everything else, and not to dismiss them. It's just that it was that I was so anxious for this moment today. I didn't overlook them. I was just kind of focusing in on things at hand. But these are the things that I think my mother had given us, because out of all these years, all of us, with the majority of things that we've done on jobs and everything else, we've been at places a very long time. I've been working in my job for 44 years. And some of my other siblings that made it through over 30 years. You just don't get to go one place or any place not knowing stability because someone taught you that. So overall, all those things she instilled in us, I think that it made all of us wonderful, no matter what direction we're all in right now in life. I think we've all benefited from it. So
I agree. And I really wish that she would have had more years on this earth to teach our kids a lot of things that she knew. But I'm hoping that you aunties and uncles will, throw in your knowledge, and from her. Because we done heard all of his stories already.
And more to come.
So,
but he gotta tell them so that the children know.
Oh yeah.
Like getting folks whooped because he in there making them laugh, okay?
Yeah. So, well, that humor had to come from somewhere.
Well, that's one of the things I love about the man is humor, because sometimes these days with COVID and all this, life sucks, and humor kind of helps you stay together. So you got to laugh about something, or she'd be crying all the time. So humor is good.
So yeah, but we surely appreciate the time that you all have taken out for us today, and that it is that we're able to get our message across.
And the kids send their love to everybody.
To everyone, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, here.
All right.
Okay,
thanks for having us.
All right.
Love you guys.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
My name is Jerome Verse. My parents is Essie Jean Verse. My father is Anderson Verse. And I have 4 siblings, which is my sister LaDonna, also my sister Keita, as well as I have another sister from on my father's side. Her name is Angela Coleman. And I have a brother named Dwayne Verse. And I have 3 kids. One name is Jerome Devontae Jr. I have a daughter. Her name is Shania Akosia Verse. And also I have a young son named Dwayne Markeith Verse. And me, I'm a chef, and I've been around trying to be with my family, and things that I learned from my mother, from my grandmother, Hattie Kane, was being resilient, also being responsible, and also being dedicated to anything that you do in life. And as growing up around a lot of uncles, aunties, and cousins, relatives as well, the big family, we had love. If we didn't have anything else, that it was enough for us that we didn't need any friends. We had family. We also had love as well. And through the days, all of us, everyone that was on my age group left, which was my cousin, everything, was well educated. We wasn't the richest people, but we didn't even know that we was poor. You know what I'm saying? But we also enjoyed life to the best, to the fullest that we could. Understanding that I have out of life as well is that always that love never die. And as long as we was around each other, we always loved one another and enjoyed one another. We learned from our relatives, our uncles and our aunties on how their past, on how they was living, on how they strived, how they struggled, and a lot of them got into the medical field. My grandmother always dealt with stuff in the medical field, as well as my mother and my auntie and my uncles, and as well as at least five of my uncles and aunties, as well as it trickled down the hill, whereas my brother got into the medical field. He's a doctor, as well as my niece as well. And it's just been a lot of adversity that we have been going through as just being a family and trying to come together as one. And as we get older, people go their own separate ways. Families get stressed out, and the matriarch have passed on and passed away. And we're trying to bring this torch back to what she made it. And it's going to be a long time coming, but it's coming. And the results that I'm seeing right now on how we get together on Facebook, Zoom, time, and everything, it's coming together. It's been some years. And sometimes God worked through other things as well. And what I've learned from my grandmother, other than being resilient and dedication and loyal, is being very respectful and not spiteful. We all have our shortcomings, and we all have our trials and tribulations that we go through. But the thing is that we live to fight another day and finding ourselves and within ourselves. And how I did that was turn to my higher power, which I choose to call the Lord Jesus Christ, as well as, submitting and reaching out to some of my uncles, aunties, and some elderly people that have experience to get through life, because some people have experience, so you don't have to get your own and tell you how to get through. And some things are just life on life terms experience. So with that saying, I just try to be the best person that I can and be respectful as I can to everyone, and that's all I can do. My name is Jerome Verse, and this is the truth.
My name is Raven Kane. My father is Derek Kane. He is the youngest son of Hattie Kane Fulton. I have two younger siblings, Jordan Alexa Kane and Brennan Xavier Kane. And I guess I don't know how to start from there.
Don't forget your daughter.
Oh, yes. And then I have a daughter. Her name is Remy Holiday. And another daughter who should be here in the next 2 months, though I don't have a name for her quite yet. As far as my grandmother Hattie, one of the things about her that was really special to me was we pretty much share the same birthday. So her birthday is February 6th. My birthday is February 4th. And over the many years, we've had combined birthday celebrations. So, and we're exactly 70 years apart. So this year, I would be turning 30 and she would be turning 100 years old. And that was something that I was really looking forward to celebrating with her. Over the years, what I remember most about my grandmother was, for one, just how flashy and how well dressed she always was. You know, it didn't matter if you know, first thing in the morning, she was getting up, doing her hair, putting on her makeup, putting on a full outfit for the day. Also, one of the many things that I remember about my grandmother was her generosity. And, you know, she always used to give us a couple dollars every time we came to visit. She always slide us a dollar or three. You know, she always cooked us breakfast and always tried to make sure, you know, we were fed, offered us meals 3 to 4 times a day, constantly asking us if we were hungry. You know, and like I said, I think she was just a person who I would say really showed love with acts of service. You know, always kind of thinking of ways to you know, be helpful to others, and you know, just thoughtful little small things. You know, I just recall being at her house and all of my cousins coming and us spending the night and enjoying our time together there. Her place was always a place where, you know, everybody kind of came together, look forward to seeing my large family, uncles, aunts, cousins, that used to come by, and the parties, you know, the hanging out, and just, like I said, the music and spending time with each other. One thing too is, you know, you never forget her yellow and white house. And I mean, everything was yellow and white all the way down to the sidewalk, the fence, everything. You know, and I don't know, y'all. I had a lot of stuff planned that I was gonna say. Yeah, she looked
Look
crazy.
back and be able to hit it and say, hey.
That's Remy. Say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, it's almost time for her bedtime. I mean, it's just like a collective, you know, again, just kind of being at her house and spending time with family, and you know, the get-togethers that we had, and the trips that we took to visit her because we were out of town. So, you know, I always recall you know, seeing her every time we were there, making sure that we visited her before we left. You know, I did see her 2 weeks before she passed. I stopped in and brought the baby. It was just, she was there. Nobody else was there. So we sat around and hung out with her for a little while. And she, I don't know, it was the first time she had her hair done a little different. She had, I don't know, she flat ironed it or she had did something that morning. And
It
she
might have
was
been
up.
because we might have hit.
Oh, okay. So it looked like she had got it like flat ironed and kind of curled, you know, it was different from her usual, you know, kind of pinned back with the hairnet. It was just out there. It was a different style for her. And she was making her a sweet potato, and we were talking, and she was I had mentioned that we were planning, you know, to do something for her birthday party. And of course, she always liked to say, "Whoa, how old will I be, you know, this year?" And I'm like, "Oh, you'll be 100, Grandma." And she was like, "Oh, okay, you know, I'm an old lady." And then she do that little dance, you know, she shimmy down and kind of drop it low, and then she came back up. And yeah, then before we left, she slid Remy like $3 in her little pocket before we headed out, and that was the last time I saw her. or had spoken to her. And yeah, I just I didn't expect for her to be gone so soon. You know, even at 99 years old, she still seemed like she had much life left to live. And yeah, I'm just gonna miss her a lot.
My name is Jordan Kane. My parents are Derek and Anita Kane. I am the second daughter of Derek, who is the 14th child of Hattie. I have older sister Raven and younger brother Brennan. What do I remember most about Grandma? For me, it was always a special time every time I got to see Grandma because we didn't live in Chicago. So whether we were passing through to visit either my mom's side of the family, we always made a point to stop to see Grandma off the highway in her little yellow house. I think my most fondest memory of Grandma was when she had her extended stay when we were redoing her house. So she came up, she was only supposed to be here for about a week or so, but I think she ended up being here for 2, maybe 3 weeks. I remember her being here, and that was the most time uninterrupted that we got to spend with her. I remember she taught me how to skin a fish in that time. My neighbor, who was just about the same age as her, had went out and caught some fish, and she would skin them in the basement. So she taught me how to skin a fish in our basement sink, and that was something that I hadn't done myself before, and I hadn't seen her before do it, but I knew that at least every time we visited, she was always willing to cook something for somebody. So it was nice to see her and help her prepare a meal for us, kind of start to finish, being up here in Minnesota with us. I will also say I always used to brag about how my grandma was 99 or whatever age and would still get up every morning and get fully dressed, head to toe, face full of makeup, nails painted. She'd do something with her hair. I was always obsessed with what grandma was going to wear. So going to all her birthday parties, seeing what outfits she would pick out, and it was always color coordinated. I loved that. I'd like to think of myself a little fashionista. I have one of her hats on right now. Just putting together outfits and really just trying to coordinate, look the best that I can whenever I was in her presence, because I know that's what she would wake up and do every morning. You could always tell when she didn't feel good though. You could always tell she wasn't quite dressed yet, but she would get there. So those are the things that I remember most about grandmother and miss the most about her. Sorry, I think my camera cut out again. Get back to you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sheree Fulton Jackson. I am the eldest daughter of Glenda Fulton, the 5th child of Hattie Fulton. Anyway, what I wanted to say here, I think, was just a few memories about my grandmother and spending time at her house. It was mostly good times there. Lots of fun hanging out with the cousins on the Midway, hanging out with grandma, going to the racetrack, picking her lottery tickets, and some of the things I'll never forget are just going to the racetrack and getting everybody in the house getting woken up by her when she came in from work, because if one thing wasn't clean, everybody had to get up. So if somebody didn't mop the floor, it don't matter if you did your part in that kitchen, you had to get up. Everybody had to get up until it was clean. Didn't matter what time it was. We were all up. So, and she was like, oh, you're going to do it right or don't do it at all. So good times most of the time, and just hanging out, sleeping with her. And I remember one time I lost a lottery ticket when she sent me right down the street to the store. It's half a block away. And I don't know what happened to that damn lottery ticket. But by the time I left the house and got to the store, it was gone. Couldn't find it. Have no idea what happened to it to this day. But that's about it.
All right, there's your leaving comments.
My leaving comments, I don't really have any leaving comments. Maybe I would if grandmother was still with us. I was truly shocked to get the news that she had passed. I didn't see that coming. I just knew that she was going to be walking out of that hospital. So no really last comments. You know, she was blessed to be here so long, and we were blessed to have her so long.
My name is Jannar Fulton. I am the 7th granddaughter of Hattie Lee Kane Fulton and Glenda Fulton's middle daughter. I have 2 children, Nada and Darius. Darius being the only boy in our family, and the rest girls, you know, as far as my mom's grandchildren. And I have 1 grandbaby, which is Phoebe, my sugar. And I am just going to tell a little bit about my grandmother. We all hung out down at 5426 Princeton and had a good time with all of our cousins. My grandmother was always sweet to us, you know, and when you come in and you dress nice and you tell her, Grandma, look at my dress, she'd be like, oh, shucky, look at you, you look so pretty. And that always made me happy, made me smile. And she would always do little sweet things for us, like make us some ice cream. She put the pot out in the snow when it snowed and got a full pot. Then she brought it in, put some milk in it, some sugar and some vanilla flavoring and stirred it up. And that was the best ice cream ever. So I enjoyed that about her. That's one of my good memories about her. She did so many things. She always welcomed us to her house along with other folks. You know, she never turned anyone down. The only thing is you had to speak to her when you came in her house, because if you did not, she put you right back out and say, you ain't got no manners, you can't speak, then you can't stay in here. But other than that, you was always welcome. She fed you well and clothed you. She was always nice and clean and coordinated, had her rings on, had a blonde bouffant with a swoop over to the side. I mean, she was all perfect and had her nails done, everything. Every day she got up and she did this. You know, it wasn't always play. She did make us do, you know, chores, but she wasn't really hard on us. You know, she had us to do different things, pick up trash around the house and cans and bottles and things like that. So had us painting. I don't think I ever had to paint, but the boys, I think she made them paint. She always looked really nice. So even when she went to work, she had her nice white uniform. It was so starchy and white and just really bright. And she looked really good all the time, you know. So those are some things that I remember about her. Another thing that I want to share is she would always say, as I got older, oh, that's nice what you got on. I'd be like, oh, Grandma, thank you. And then one time I had this purple and white scarf that I really liked. And she said, oh, that's a nice scarf. And I said, you want it? And she said, yeah, I want it. I said, okay, well, let me take it home and wash it and I'll bring it back to you. She said, oh, I got a washing machine downstairs. So you don't have to take it home. You can give it to me right now. She was not about to let me out the house with that scarf. And I just laughed. I took it off and gave it to her like, hey, she asked for it and I'm giving it to her. So that's another one of my memories. Another thing that I remember is in October, I took her to get her hair did. She likes to be in control. She can be very, very feisty too. Not just sweet all the time, but she can be feisty. And I took her to get her hair did. and she wanted to control the situation. And she did not want to lay back in the bowl. She kept sitting up. So as a result, she was all wet at the back of her clothes. And also, once we got out the bowl for getting her hair wet, washed, she sat in the chair, got blow dried, and she told him, "Don't curl my hair." And so he went to doing, he's like, "Okay, mama." He went to doing straightening out her hair and everything. And he would put a little bump when he when he finished. That was his way of straightening it out. He wasn't actually curling it, but she kept craning her neck looking, and she said, "Didn't I tell you, don't curl my hair?" And he said, "No, mama, I'm sorry. I'm not curling your hair. I'm just bumping it." And she was like, "No, I don't want it bumped. I just want it straight, just straight." And so he went on and did everything he was doing and had the little bumps in there, and then gave her the mirror. And she said, "Let me see your comb." And she took his comb, combed her hair down, put her swoop and her bun in her head, and was like, "This what I do at home." So that was a good memory for me. That again, feisty, she gonna get it done her way. So I don't blame her for that. I appreciated her doing what she had to do, and she's always did that with us. Okay, and the last memory that I would say is when I saw her in the hospital on December 3rd. And she was a little, feisty then still, because she was just telling me, "I want some water," but I couldn't give her none. So I kind of felt really bad about that. And she, she lived a good life, and she's still always going to be in our hearts, and we just love her and miss her. And I wish that she could have made it a little bit further to her 100th birthday and beyond. That's it for me.
Hi, I am Sheree Fulton Jackson, the eldest daughter of Glenda Fulton, who is the 5th eldest of Hattie Lee Fulton. A couple of my memories with my grandmother are just when we stayed there, always sleeping in her bed with her, going to the racetrack, picking horses, and just having a good time in general while there, playing on the midway with cousins and next door in the lot, playing softball, and generally just having a good time at my grandmother's house. One of the other memories that I wanted to share was taking one of her lottery tickets to cash it in and losing it. And between walking from her house just a half a block away to the store looking to cash in that ticket, and I lost the ticket and could never find it. Surprisingly, she didn't get mad at me for it. Don't know what ever happened to that lottery ticket. Other than that, that's about it. Just happy that she was with us so long. It's a blessing to be around for 99 years, almost 100 years. And, sad that she didn't make it as long as to make it to that 100th birthday, and shocked really that she didn't make it, because I just knew that she was going to walk out of the hospital and, give those folks in there a hard time like she normally does. But she didn't this time. And so I was really shocked about that. But mostly just good memories of being over my grandmother's house and hanging out with my cousins. That's about it.
Okay, so I'm speaking for Miss Phoebe here. This is Denard's granddaughter, and this will be her great granddaughter. Did I get that right? We were lucky enough to get a chance to meet her before, her departure. I've only had the one encounter with her, but she was very sweet to me. I didn't get a chance to meet the feisty side of her, but she was very open and loving to both me and Phoebe. We were happy to get at least one picture with her and Phoebe so that when Phoebe gets older, I can get to share some of the stories that I've heard here today with her, as well as Jannard and Darius Nada as she gets older. She will be greatly missed. I think that it's amazing that, she almost made it to 100 years. And once again, I'm sorry that she's passed on. Okay, Phoebe. All right. Sorry, guys.
Hey, hi, I'm Celine. I am Sheree's daughter, Glenda's granddaughter, and Hattie's
Speak up,
great
girl.
granddaughter. And Hattie's great granddaughter. And I know she was a great woman, I learned a lot from just being at her house and having that big family feel of everybody being loved and just being there for each other. And would always look forward to going to her house and being able to connect with my family, just learn what it is to have that love around you. And so I'm really sad that she's gone and I'm not able to, connect with her deeper than I had. So, yeah.
My name is Chanel. I'm Sheree's daughter, Glenda's granddaughter, and Hattie's great granddaughter. Grandmother's house was always very comforting for me, just to see having a big family, and it was like she was the glue to everybody, bringing everybody together no matter what was going on. Sometimes grandmother honestly didn't know who I was, but she would we would sing for her, then it seemed like she would remember. And she was just really nice all the time. She always gave us something to leave with. And yeah, that was a good experience and really something that I look at to model my own family as.
Hi, my name is Nada. I am the child of Jannard. I am the grandchild of Glenda Fulton, and Hattie was my great grandmother. My fondest memory of her was being able to come over our house over the summer, and she'll cook us breakfast, and all of me and my cousins would sleep over there. And my favorite thing was probably the barbecues, because I got the chance to see all my family and able to see my grandmother dance, because that's one of her favorite things to do. And she was just always full of life, and I miss her and I love her.
So this is a little something I wrote from my grandmother. It says, Hattie, some call her Flossie. She was sweet and kind, also a bit bossy. Yes, that was our Flossie. She could dress like no other from head to toe. She would shine. Some would say she was dressed to the nines. Flossie's platinum blonde hair was her signature look. When it came down to fashion, you think she wrote the book. Our Flossie, she was not shy. She could dance like no other. She was super fly. She wiggled her way down to the floor and soon recovered. Yes, that was our Flossie, the mother of all mothers.
Sheree and I met each other 30, 32 years ago or something like that. And I remember when she would start talking about her family and all of her aunts and uncles and about Hattie and all of this. And this is way before I even met all of these great people in this family. And I just thought that that was always amazing to me because I come from a small family. And so I didn't even know how you could even start remembering all the names of the aunts and uncles and the cousins and the children of the aunts and uncles and the cousins and the other and all those sort of people. But it was really interesting when we would go over to the house and then I would meet all of these people and start connecting the stories of these people and putting faces to a name, just in general, sort of on the outside. And then as time moved on, these are people that I started to get to know, and they started to get to know me. And then over the years, obviously, they became my family too. And Hattie became, my grandmother too. And we would have small words together whenever I would see her. We wouldn't really have any long conversations, but we'd always check in, just, you okay? How you doing? That sort of thing. And it seemed like that was enough. That was enough to know that we were on the same page and that we were in sync. And then it was always interesting just to kind of watch how the movement of the family around Hattie and the house and how everybody interacted with each other, and it's what they say these days. Family is family, and what really makes a family is how they show up. And how they show up is really evident in how people showed up to Hattie's. And I think that that's kind of what sticks with me on a day-to-day basis. Just that, how it's demonstrated how people show up and how family shows up. And that's got to start somewhere, and that started with Hattie, clearly.
Hi, I'm Glenda Fulton, and Hattie Kane Fulton was my mother, and my siblings are Willie B. Kane, Essie, Faye, Shirley, Larry, known as Shabazz, Dwayne, set of twins, Joanne and Joetti, Phil, Cynthia, we had a sister named Renee also, Phyllis, and Derek is the boy, which count 14 children that Hattie had. We have two siblings who has passed on, as well as my mother. Fondest memories were at my mother's house. First of all, Shatanya was the first grandbaby at 5426 Princeton of my children. She was the first grandbaby. You hear him talk about the house being painted yellow and white and the trees and the sidewalk and the bricks. True that. She get you up on them bricks and get them painted because she wanted them to be sparkling and looking good. And our time with her, 99 years, it's been a great event for me. Of course, I don't remember no more than probably up to 5 to 7. And I think I shared some things in regards to knowing when I went down south, and she took us down south, as Larry shared, and she had the chicken in the shoebox on the train that you could eat. And we went down to her mother's house out of May Marsha, and we stayed down. She left us down there, me, Shirley, and Larry, my sibling, and we went to school in Jackson, Mississippi. My grandmother owned a lounge and a restaurant. And well, my mother left him down there. Larry got it good because he went out there to study best and turned that head up. And my grandfather told on him. He always think I told on him, but it wasn't. But my mother left us anyway. He was hollering that he wanted to go home. But she said, no, you're gonna stay and get some more lickings and some lessons. So that's what we had to do. We went from there to living in Chicago on the west side. Then I remember very vivid 43rd Street. And mother would go and get some live stock, like chicken, and well, mostly chicken we had. And she would bring them to our house on 43rd at Berkeley, and she would have us help pick the feathers off the chicken once she killed the chickens to eat. And it got kind of to the place I was like, I can't eat that. I seen that. I can't eat it. I can't eat it. But early on, we lived on a farm out in Hopkins Parks, which is a part of Kimbrook or Kankakee, as some might know it. And my fondest remember was it was cold one night, and we had the pot belly stove, and I don't know if we had got out of wood or what had happened, or she didn't want to leave certain things burning at night a certain way. So she went outside and got some bricks and heated some bricks for us, wrapped them in some towels so we could put our feet on them so we could be warm and go to sleep. So a lot of love always she have shown, not just to us, her 14 children, but to everyone that she encountered in whatever situation it was. From being at her house with all of her children and having somebody and their children there, and never put anybody out. I have seen the time, especially if we gave something at the house and we had others there. You wake up, you might have been stepping over some of everybody. So that's how it went. We enjoyed ourselves, and we had stayovers, and we had more folks in the house than the children that she had as well. But I really loved a lot of things about learning, because we were blessed to have a hi-fi with records, and that sofa couch with that plastic on it. And she told us no company in her house. And my sister Faye let somebody come in her house that smoked, because Faye was allowed to smoke back then. And the girl put a hole in my mother's couch. What she do that for? Because we all got it, okay? Because of Faye and her friend putting a hole in her couch, smoking a cigarette. After that, we couldn't have any company in our house in the front room. And lo and behold, don't have no company in Hattie's house when she wasn't there, because everybody got towed up with the extension cord. Or my grandfather had razor belts, so razor straps, we call them. So I remember them razor straps, because she would whoop you with them, preferably to the extension cord. But I'm grateful to say I don't remember a lot of times Hattie whooping on us. She mostly talked to you more so than anything, because that got you more than anything. And I remember my sister Jean would have me, that she's my oldest sister. Mother would buy candy by the bulk for us, because of course she probably didn't go shopping often for certain things. They would send me to go find where mother hid the candy at, and I would find the candy, but she would whoop them because she know they sent me. So just a lot of fun things, and having a big family, and how you can rely on one another. And I remember Faye, she told Faye if any of them children mess with us, she better make sure they didn't go into school. And one day my sister Faye took off her belt and whipped this boy all the way home with her belt buckle. We didn't get any trouble, thank goodness. In later years, if you had to take up some issue, we would go get Faye. So them children started telling us, don't y'all mess with them Kanes and Fulton, because Faye ain't nothing to play with. And believe me, they didn't mess with us. And there was the time when I think the story's been told already too, about the black Cadillac, and Hattie, we got all that fish, and that fish all weighed the car down. Shoot, we washed and scaled and cooked and gave away fish so long. I'm not a fish person, even though I do still eat fish today. I'm grateful to be able to know that there were other things that we could do and have fun with, not just things that was in and around the house and the party. That was a joyful thing to be able to do. So I was like, well, why is she going to get all this fish? What do we need with it? But she got it. She gave it to others, not just kept it in her house. And we always had a freezer. And I remember we had a ironing board called a presser. We could sit down and press our clothes. I thought that was the neatest thing ever. I had never seen that. And we had a piano in our house all long as I could remember, until she moved to 54th and Preston. When she bought that house, I think that's when the piano left. But we always have had different things, not to say that we were rich or anything, but I never remember being hungry. She would make the big biscuits for you with the water syrup that was thick, and you had a meal even though you thought wasn't anything in the refrigerator. So all those pleasurable things that you remember about mother going to the refrigerator, making a meal out of nothing, or mother taking us one or two at a time and might get the car and go. She said she was going to Marshall Field. That's what she tell the one she left at home. Well, we learned later Marshall Field was Goodwill, Catholic Sam, and those kind of places. She get those dresses and iron. She wouldn't let you see them when she came back. She tell you, go on, do what you were doing. She be done washed, ironed, and starched them. You didn't know the difference. They were from Marshall Field downtown. So just a lot of great things and being a parent that you like. And I remember my father sometime coming to take us different places as well, being involved in our lives. And her, with her, like Janard say, mother was 50 years. She tell my father what hurt, you know, and that hairstyle came because she said she was trying something. Larry was her baby at that time. She wanted to color her hair. So she colored her hair. She said, if my father didn't like the hair when he came home, she was going to change it back. But she said he never said anything. So she left her hair like it was. And that's now been at least 6 years. He's 69. I'm 71. I'm 72 this year. So he's 70. Yeah, about 70 years ago, she did her hair that way. So I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to have her as my mom and to learn things that I did learn in the lifelong lesson and to be the person who I have came to be with my children as well. And I also wrote a little thing to her that I'm going to do. And it says, trying to keep my head in here. Hattie, a mother who took care of us and others, hold a special place in our hearts. Thank you for your empathy and your compassion as you gave of yourself. I honor you for being a selfless soul who helped others and helped those who felt left alone. Bless you. I give thanks for your kind and compassionate spirit, for your gentle touch and thoughtful conversation. I give thanks that you lifted the spirits of those in your care. You were a light of love in our way and in our world. I champion, a channel of healing and peace. Your hands are the hands through which the spirit expresses. Your words were the whispers that brighten our lives and the lives of those you tend to and cared for. Thank you for the love you shared with us all, who came in your presence. Mother, we will forever hold you in our hearts. We love you, and we're grateful that we had the opportunity for you to be our mother, our grandmother, our great-grandmother, and our great-great-grandmother from Glenda and family.
Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Kane. I'm a twin. So we are number 8 and 9 of Hattie Kane Fulton's children. I'm a mother of one son, Max, the MKF group, Maxwell Kofi Frimpong. My oldest granddaughter is Kai Frimpong, and the youngest granddaughter is Mahari Camilla Frimpong. I want to thank God for the opportunity to speak about my mom, who carried us for 9 months, birthed us, protect us, nourish us, and I can go on and on. Mom, a reflections on our life with my mom. Mom would always mention from a baby to a child how I was the humble twin, and my twin brother would always had to go first upon grooming him, yet eating, or any of his everyday needs. So I always had to wait to be served last since my twin was so impatient. Just to go down memory lane with some things about my mom and raising us. We had a good life. It was nothing that we wouldn't want from being a large family. And I remember Mom was also our advocate. For example, when I was in 4th grade, my mom would send me to school looking nice. Never had long hair. So she put this little wig piece on me. And when I went to school, my teacher said I was irritating her because I kept shaking my head left to right, left to right. And she was like, Joanne Kane, Joanne Kane. So as I walked up to the door she put me out the class. And as I walked up to the door to exit out, she told me to go stand up. She pulled my ponytail off. Why did she do that? I rushed home. And I told my mother put that ponytail back on me tight, and we all the Canes rushed back up to Price School, right there on 43rd and Drexel. And when my mom got to that school, all the kids was Miss Kane, beat her up, beat her up, beat her up. Mama attempted several times to knock the teacher out. But I guess her spirit said, no, don't do that. Just kind of shake her up a little bit. But you better believe I paid for that. We moved off from 1036 East 43rd Street, and that's when we moved to 6139 South Kenbar. And when we got our grades, the end of the year, of course, the teacher failed me. I had to repeat 4th grade back again, and I was so mad. But see, I'm glad nowadays they don't have to do that. But then another story, as we got to 6139 Kenbar, then 4th grade going into 5th grade, I guess Mom decided that I was a little more dependable than some of her other children. She kind of put me over them. I would have to come home from what is school? No, I went to race school, and then I would have to cook. And I'm like, why Mama making me cook? We got so many other siblings. But we had the best of everything. We kept a freezer full of food. We would go to the bakery and get all kind of pastries. And I would walk up to the store. I don't know why I'm heavy as I am, because I would walk to all the stores like a Jew and save her money, from High-Low to AMP to One Stop. Comparing the prices, buying food that we needed for the home. And when I would get back from the store, I would have so much of change. Mama would be nervous. Joanne, you sure you bought everything on the list? I'm like, yeah, Mom, you sure? And then we would go over the items. And when she went through all the items and saw I had got everything from the grocery list, she would give me a bonus. Ooh, why did she give me that bonus? Because I took off and went up to that bakery and got me a sweet cake, sweet potato pie, whatever, other items. So, it was nothing that we wanted. Mama had that Cadillac, and everybody would want to ride with us. I remember my friend Sarah, that's my friend today from 4th grade. We would load up in the truck, and we would go to the park. We had like a half of a cow. All of us could take one friend, and we piled in the back of that truck and went over, I think, on 39th Street to the lake and barbecued. And it said I could go on and on and on, but I would like to say, as I got a little older and we moved to 5426 South Princeton, that's when I was in 8th grade. I graduated from 8th grade race school and went to Hyde Park High School. And Mama she was like my friend. Me and her would go somewhere everywhere. We would go from friend's house to barbecues, out of town, the racetrack, one of her favorite. And like she said, we would go to the movies. Sometimes we even went to Marshall Field and Beth, I used to call that free sale. And and get various items. Mama would have 5 and 6 bags of items, clothing that she had bought from the resale. And when we got back with the clothing, she would have everybody take the bags in her room. She would pull them tags off and sort them out, and we had to wash them. My sister said she would iron them, but no, we would iron them. We had to take that starch, that agar starch, boil that water, and make that starch. And I don't know who, some would be on the list to starch, some would be on the list to iron. But we got our job done. We worked it as a team. We would sweep from one end of the hall, and if your end started the next end, your mess would join in. And when you join in your mess, and whoever the final would pick everything up from there. We had weeks to wash dishes. It might have been 3 of us on this load, and then 3 on the next load. So you could really appreciate the nourishing that was taught through the years, through my life. And also my mom was like my chauffeur. She took me so many places. She even took me to my favorite nightclub a couple of times. And then she taught me how to drive. But see, my feet was too heavy on that wheel for her. She told me to make a shot right on Princeton, and I went almost in the whole lot to the left lane. She was like, if you don't get your so-and-so that go in that right lane, then make a right in that alley, get your ass out of my car. And I was like, well, Mom, I'm trying. She said, no, you ain't trying. You finna get us killed. She said, because you moving, you going too far over to the left. I said, make a sharp right. Do you know your left from your right? And even today, I have to throw my hand. Do you go left this way with this hand? Or do you go right this way with this hand? So I'm just so thankful. And I remember when me and Mama went to Kankakee. And I was older. We went to Kankakee. We was only 5 minutes?
1
minute. So I'm going to put a pin in that and just say, I want to thank God that I had my mother for 66 years. A lot of people didn't get a chance to share their life with their mother for 66 years. And I went with her all the way. The day she got sick, she called me, and I took her to the hospital. The day she passed away, they called and told me to come to confirm that, sign the papers about her death. So thank God I had her in my life. I'm going to miss her, but also I know we all have to go that way. And I was looking forward to that 100-year birthday. Thank God.
My name is Shatanya Fulton. My mother is Glenda Fulton. She's the 5th oldest of Hattie's children. This is my husband, Bobby Clymer, and my daughter, Parker Clymer. I just want to talk a little bit about my grandmother. She was such a blessing to all of her children and grandchildren throughout her life. Sometimes even when our parents were having difficulties, she had us at her house. She cooked for us, she fed us, and she put us to work. So one of the things I remember about my grandmother is she was very, very particular about when you came to her house, your manners, speak when you walk in the door. And I would tell my friends, like, listen, when you go into my grandmother's house, you have to speak and make sure that she heard you. If she don't reply, you say it again. You say hello again, because if not, she's gonna let you have it and she's gonna put you up out of here. So my grandmother instilled in us just having good manners, speaking, if there were older people around the table, younger people sitting at the table, older people came up, we needed to get up out of the seat and let the older person sit down. One of the things I remember about being at my grandmother's house is, just being there with my cousins, us having a good time, all the parties, my uncles and aunties, everybody's dancing, my cousin Maxwell doing James Brown. It was just so much fun for me as a kid being in that environment with my grandmother and my cousins. And of course, my grandmother, like I said, she took care of us and she cooked for us and she put us to work. One of the things I can remember, it seems like my grandmother was always frying fish. Like, it seems like, you know, several times a week, my grandmother was cooking fried fish. And she liked her beer. My grandmother liked beer. And, you know, she'd tell us, hey, go in there and get me a glass and bring me a beer. Well, don't make the mistake of going in there and grabbing a mayonnaise jar or something. You know, people, you know, like to keep their jars around because she's, you know, she was born in 1922. So certain things you just didn't throw out. So don't make the mistake of going in there getting a mayonnaise jar out of the cabinet for her to drink her beer out of. She wanted a glass. And so she poured the beer and then she let you have a little sip off the top of the suds. So I remember my grandmother doing that. And it was just, you know, she didn't let us have too much, but she gave us a little sip right off the top. Let's see, what else? My grandmother, when I was in school, she would send me like a care package and it would have like canned goods, ramen noodles, peaches, crackers, you know, graham crackers, all kinds of stuff for me to have at school. And I really, really appreciated her doing that for me. And sometimes she'd send a couple of bucks along with it, but the package was heavy. I mean, she put a lot of stuff in there and she would send it to me when I was away at school. So that was also a wonderful memory for me. You know, when I was a girl and we would spend the night at her house, it seems like my grandmother always had something interesting on her dresser. You know, she had her nail polish and her lipsticks and stuff. But one of the things I remember her having on there is rose water. Like, I don't know what it did, if it was to help her, you know, her youthfulness, but she had rose water on her dresser. And I had never seen that before. And I don't know if I've seen it from anyone else. But Hattie had rose water on her dresser. And the other thing that was always on her dresser was juicy fruit. She'd have a pack of juicy fruit there. And I said, Grandma, can I have some gum? She'd say yes. And she'd take a piece out, she'd tear it in half and give me a half a piece of gum. And I was grateful for it, but you know that juicy fruit can slide right down your throat. So, you know, I just remember her always having juicy fruit on her dresser. Also, when I would spend the night at her house, she would have me make a pallet on the floor next to her bed. And I would sleep down there and she'd get up in the morning and she'd be watching The Price is Right, watching Bob Barker do his thing. And then she would also sometimes turn on her AM radio. And one song it seems like that would come on every day was that song, Down Home Blues. Is that B.B. King? I don't know. But I think that was one of her favorite jams. So yeah, I really just love being at my grandmother's house. It always felt like home. I always felt welcome there. And I'm so grateful for her 99 years of love, you know, to all of us. And just grateful for the time that I spent with her and that I had with her. And that's it. Okay. Now, Parker, would you like to say something about Grandma?
Well, I wasn't alive most of the years that she was around, but the moments I do have of her, they were all really nice, and she was always nice to me. She always had this like bowl of candy on her kitchen counter, and I would always ask for a piece and she would always let me have a piece. And one of the memories I don't really remember, but I have a picture, but it's me and my grandma and my mom. And I love my great grandma, and I'm glad she got to live a long, happy life.
I wanted to add one more thing. I hope this is not out of order, but you know, my grandmother's hair. I don't know if I've ever seen my grandmother with a different hairstyle. It's always been blonde, and it always had like a little swoop on the front and like a pent up in a bun on the back. And I don't think I've ever seen my grandmother change her hair, like not once, not ever. And it was to me like a classic style, and it was absolutely her own style of hair. So I just wanted to throw that in. She was very, very classy and jazzy, and she knew how to put her outfits together. She'd get up in the morning, even if she didn't have anything to do, it seems like she was dressed up. And I hardly ever saw her like in a state where she wasn't ready to go. So, yeah. All right, Bobby, you want to say something about Grandma Hattie?
Yes, my name is Bobby Clymer, and I didn't get to spend a lot of time with Hattie. But the times I did, she was always very kind to me. And I know more about her from my wife telling stories about growing up. I mean, anything she talks about growing up, it always seems like it centered around her grandmother's house, or growing up in her grandmother's presence with her cousins. But she was a really kind woman, and I'm thankful for her because I got my mother-in-law, and then I got my wife from her. So that's all I have.
All right.